Hi everybody. So for this devlog, I worked on creating an NPC for the game, and for anyone who knows me, I think a bowl was a perfect choice. And I originally wanted to get it into the game and get it integrated. However, I've been on parental leave for the last month, so yeah, I've been quite busy, and some other things also came up. So for now, I just did some of the modeling and a few animations. So as far as the modeling goes, it took me about 4 hours or so just playing with it. So I'm kind of jumping around in the video a bit, just showing some of the highlights, like working on the horns, the tail, the sack, stuff like that. The face kind of looked like a dog for a while, so I kind of figured out how to make it look more cow-like, and yeah, just making the bull kind of resemble a bull just by playing around and pulling and tugging on things, which I'm fairly good at. Most of the parts of the model took me multiple tries to get looking decent, so I'm just showing the final representation of it. But I don't really have any good experience in modeling or animation, and I'll say it's actually really difficult, at least in my opinion. So I have a lot of respect for people who are really good at this. I'm much better at coding and the programming side of things. But I did have some fun with this, and again, it took me quite a while, so I condensed the modeling into 3 or 4 minutes from about 4 hours. So you can imagine there's quite a bunch of stuff that I'm missing. The tail here kind of took me a few tries. It was kind of looking kind of thin, and a bull's tail actually is kind of like long and kind of fluffy at the end. I don't know if that's the right word, but and then yeah, the sack itself. My original one, my wife said wasn't big enough, so I took her word for it and I went and tried again. But the shape was looking kind of weird, so I then restarted it again and again and again until finally I started to get some resemblance of what I wanted, and I kind of figured out how to make it look a bit more round and bulbous. So I'm kind of figuring out here, which is sort of the end of the model. To be fair, I think majority of my modeling was just this part, so it may not have been worth it, but I think it's as a bit light spirited. So I don't know. I find it fun. Yeah, doing a little bit of stretching there, and yeah, some final details of the modeling, and yeah, there we have it. Somewhat of a bowl. Later, I'll probably update the mesh and improve it a bit, as it's got a lot of n-gons and a lot of vertices that connect more than 4 edges. As you've seen in other videos, it's as simple as exporting and copying a file around. The next part is adding the colors. So to start off, I added a few more colors to the color palette, but in the future, I'd like more of a theme. So the models kind of have a similar look and feel. Right now, I'm just adding individual colors for specific models, which isn't scalable in the long run, but for the prototype, I think is fine for now, since this palette doesn't take up a lot of space. So yeah, make the bull black, horns and hoofs the same color, and the eyes I don't really like. I think maybe I'll add a little bit more geometry and maybe color them red or something cool, but for now, I think this is okay. Next is the rigging, which takes quite a while. A lot of tweaking here and there. So I kind of fast forward through it really quick because it's fairly boring to watch, but it went kind of smooth. The real issue was when I actually did the automatic weights. For some reason, the weights weren't correct, but I smoothed it out a little bit. So after the rigging, I started working on the animations. And the first one was the idle, which is the most simple, as I don't really need to move the legs around. And basically what I do is I take the model and I make the major poses, so like the main keyframes, and I kind of fill in the keyframes in between for like the minor adjustments and things. The next animation is the walk, and this one took me quite a while because I've never done four-legged creatures before, and interestingly enough, for cows or bulls in this case, the back legs bend in the opposite direction, so their knees go in the opposite direction than I would expect, and that threw me for a little bit of a loop. But here I'm just playing with the position and changing the distance between the keyframes. The run animation, similar to the walk, except a little bit more exaggerated and dipping the body down and forward a little bit. This one was a little confusing because again, the legs go backwards, but I think it looks okay. The last animation is the charge, which will be the attack. And this was the most fun to do, and I think it actually looks the best. But basically, I copied the keyframes from the run, and I manipulated the head and neck a bit to go up and down, but kind of keeping the same cadence for the legs. Similar to the model, updating and loading in the game being fairly straightforward, the animations are also similar because all I have to do is update the animation and then I can export it. So as long as the animation name doesn't change and its association with whatever functionality, it will automatically be updated. Here's a final look at the first draft of the animations. We've got the idle, which is a little exaggerated, but I think it looks okay. We've got the walk animation. We've got the run animation. And finally, the charge, which would be the attack. And that's it. So I think next devlog I'm going to try to get this integrated into the game and start working towards combat. Thank you everyone for watching. Take care.